Hey everybody, it is Karen from Are You Prepared Mama, and today we are going to cover the topic of how do we not panic when everything around us in the world looks like it is going crazy. As we start tackling this topic, the first thing that I want to say is don't watch the news. And I know that sounds absolutely counterintuitive, but I think it's so easy for us to get pulled in when we hear all of this negative news, and all we do is sit there and watch and feed on all this negativity. Now, I'm not saying don't stay informed, don't hear that, but I am saying don't watch the news. So you may be asking, so Karen, if I don't watch the news, how do I stay abreast of what's going on around me? So my suggestion is that you find a reliable news source. We subscribe to a news source called the Epoch Times, and that's EPOCH. And for us, it's $9 a month. They are very balanced. They present all sides of a story. I feel like there's not an agenda to them. But even then, I don't read all the news articles. So my second point in how do you not panic is just read the headlines. That's one of the big things that you can do to keep yourself from panicking when everything's going crazy around you. We're looking at stuff from China right now. We're looking at stuff with Hamas, and we're looking at the Gaza Strip and Israel and all of that going on around us. I've heard the phrase World War III. I've heard so many different things, but we don't need to panic. So we're not going to do anything but read the headlines. You're going to get 90% of what you need right there. You know what's going on. You know what's happening. Now, every now and again, I do go ahead and I will read part of an article, but if I do, it's usually like the first 1 to 3 paragraphs, and that is it. It would be very easy for me to panic when everything's going on and there are things that are just out of my control. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. But maybe 2 to 3 times a week, I will read the first 1 to 3 paragraphs of an article. Once you find a reliable online news source, just read the headlines, and every now and again, read a couple of paragraphs to keep abreast of what's going on. The next thing that you can do to keep yourself from panicking in a situation like this is to not focus in on specific prepper scenarios at first. Now, I have read plenty of people who are like, what is most likely to happen around you? What are the things that you're going to face? For example, if you live in Florida, you're in a hurricane-prone zone. If you live in Kansas, you're in a tornado-prone zone. If you live in California, you're in an earthquake-prone zone. But first, we need to take care of pillars. We need to take care of the supports of our house, and this is what I mean. So I broke preparedness down into 10 basic areas. These are included food, water, medicine, protection, sanitation, nuclear, biological, chemical, communication, children in school, and shelter, which includes heating, cooling, home maintenance, repair, cooking, and lighting. Now, think of each of those areas as a support for your house. You want to build those supports evenly so that your roof isn't going to be cockeyed, because if you have one support that's way too tall and others that are short, it's going to be way off depending. So you want to build those supports to the same level before you start specializing in specific events like your tornadoes, your hurricanes, earthquakes, etc. So let's build all of these up to a functional level. Now, what do I mean by a functional level? Can you take care of each of these areas for a specific period of time? For example, do you have enough food and water, medicine and other first aid supplies if you were without basic services for a week? Okay, that would be one level. Can you do all of that for 2 weeks? How about for a month? 2 to 3 months, 6 months? Those are your supports. And what you want to do is you want to put a time to it. So let's say I have everything up to a month. That's a great start, and that's awesome. You want to keep doing that until you reach whatever level you are most comfortable with. So make sure that you sit down and talk with your spouse. And if your spouse isn't on board with prepping, then you need to keep your eyes out for another video. So sit down with your spouse, decide how long you want to be prepared for. If an event were to happen like COVID, where lockdowns happen for 3 months, are you prepared to go for 3 months? And what happens if you're without water during that time? Or what happens if you're without electricity or heat? Could you take care of all of these areas for 3 months? The third thing that is going to help keep us from panicking when we see all this craziness going on around us in the world is to focus on what you can control, because there's so much out there that we can't. We need to be able to acknowledge that there are things we can't control, that we'll never be able to control. We need to be able to say, it's okay that there are things outside of my control, because there are things that I can do. So once you've gotten what I like to call your prepper solvency, so like financially solvent, but how about your preparedness solvency? Once you've got your solvency level up to whatever you've decided, 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, 2 months, whatever it is, then you can start focusing in on the nitty-gritty. So we know something's going on in China. What would you potentially need to take care of that? So let's start with, what prophylactic measures can we take now? Start by strengthening your immune system and the immune system of your children, because right now in China, what's going on is a lot of children are ending up in the emergency room with pneumonia and pneumonia symptoms. So strengthen your immune system, strengthen your kids' immune system. For us and our family, that means vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. Most of us do that regularly so that we make sure that our immune system is strong. Do some research, talk to your doctors, see what dosages your kids need for their ages, work with your healthcare provider to keep your family healthy. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to be able to strengthen your lungs and the lungs of your children. So I have an asthmatic daughter, and she takes wild cherry bark every day because that will strengthen her lungs. When she does that regularly, she doesn't have to use her inhaler as much, and she's able to handle things much better because she's taking the wild cherry bark. She does these things to strengthen her pulmonary system. We also keep frankincense on hand. So frankincense is an essential oil, and it is the #1 respiratory health oil. Make sure you have a good relationship with your pediatrician or your family doctor. This can go a long way in making sure that you and your family have the best care provided for if something were to happen. And then fourth, I want you to remember that worry and stress can negatively affect your immune system. So what can we do about that? Do what you can to lighten the mood in your home. Laugh a lot with your kids. Watch a Christmas movie or watch another funny movie that makes you all laugh. Spend time together as a family. Talk regularly with your kids and your spouse to help them de-stress. When our kids are under a lot of pressure and they don't have someone that they can trust to go to during difficult times, that can stress their own body out, and that will lower their immune system. So do something to help them, to draw them out. Spend time with them one-on-one, to talk with them and make sure that they have a safe place that they can go to so that they can really deal with that stress in their lives. Get some exercise, even if it's just walking around the neighborhood. Get your spouse out there, get your kids out there with you, and just go on a walk. But exercise to a degree will strengthen your immune system. Also, especially in this season of the year, and it's so easy, but don't overindulge in sweets, because sweets and caffeine can lower your immune system. So again, make sure that you are feeding your body healthy foods. Remember, when you're finding life to be stressful, remember, we don't have to worry about what's just over the horizon. Take a deep breath, follow these steps, and remember, you got this, mama.